now
Yes.
that we have Dr. Michael Teiger on the Channel 3 Eyewitness Newsline. Dr. Teiger, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Denise. I can hear you.
Thank you. I'm here with Mark Zinni, and we know you are a pilot. First of all, what is your reaction? What are your thoughts about what happened today?
Well, these events are always tragic in the extreme. I've been following as much of the news as I can with everyone else online. The B-17 is a plane that I've seen often. It tours the country, and I've seen it at Brainerd Airport. Frequently, it comes down for people to make tours like you say. I've walked through the B-17. I've never flown in one, but these are aircraft that are available to the public. They are living history, like you said. And the people who maintain these airplanes are very excited to show off this part of living history.
Doctor, you talked about, Doctor, that you've walked through this airplane before. Can you just kind of describe, what it looks like inside, what the setup is like?
By all our criteria, we're used to the luxury with curtains and carpet, and these planes are very rustic and remote. And from a pilot's point of view, the cockpit is old in the extreme. They have old steam gauges. But I think it's important for your listeners to know that these airplanes, while they are old and vintage, they still are airworthy, and by pilots' criteria, they're very safe. They require the same inspections by the FAA as the modern airplanes do. They're maintained by this company. We'll probably find out more about the maintenance records of this particular airplane, but they're kept up to standards, and the people who manage these planes carry the responsibility of safety for their passengers. So it's going to be very curious what information comes out with regard to this particular airplane crash.
That's a good point. And I want to ask you, as a pilot, is this particular plane difficult to fly? Does it present any unique challenges?
Well, it's an old plane, so modern pilots would feel very uncomfortable in this particular airplane. It's a four-engine airplane, so there are four engines to manage. But most airplanes have the same basic aerodynamics, and the pilots who manage these planes would have extremely good experience and many hours piloting this airplane. So it's not something that a general aviation novice could get into and feel comfortable without hundreds of hours of flight time. So it is difficult for a modern pilot, but for somebody who's been flying this plane, it could be a piece of cake.
Are you comfortable, Doctor, kind of saying what you think may happen? I mean, as a pilot yourself, what will be the next steps in the investigation? How will this play out involving the FAA, do you think?
Well, I think that's important. It's a major mistake to make too many speculations about what could have happened to this particular airplane causing the crash, and I really hesitate with these sort of situations to make those statements. But I will tell your listeners that these planes are scrutinized, and these accidents are scrutinized to the extreme. So this would be a walled-off crime scene. The NTSB will come in and evaluate in great detail the records from the air traffic control conversations with the pilots will be scrutinized, and eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, they will come up with an answer of why this crash occurred and what the circumstances were.
And Dr. Teiger, this could take weeks or months, right, before we get a final report?
I think the final report usually takes months, yes, but the information about what could have happened could come out very quickly, depending on what information we get quickly, like the air traffic discussion between the pilot and air traffic control when the pilot's returning to the airport. He may have said, we have such and such an incident, and this is our problem, and we're coming in for an emergency landing.
I want to ask, Doctor, do these planes, I mean, how high do they go? I know, obviously, it's not like a commercial plane, but, I mean, what are we talking here? Cruising altitude, things like that. I'm imagining it's probably a pretty rough ride, correct?
I would say incorrect. My experience is these types of planes are very noisy because you have engines that are very loud, but they fly like any other airplane, and they can fly just as comfortably depending on whether the air is smooth or not. They are not pressurized, so you will not get up terribly high. Usually 8,000 feet would be a cruising altitude. But for a sightseeing flight, they might get up to 2,500 feet, make a couple of circles around the environment, and then return. I think this was a tourist type of flight, and usually that's a 15-minute deal from takeoff to landing. Exciting for the passengers, certainly if they've never been in this type of plane before, but it wouldn't be a rough ride. It would be smooth, all depending on the weather. And the weather, I think, today was not a factor. The weather was quite a nice day to fly.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing from our chief meteorologist. I think you make a good point as well too. You hear the noise of the engine, and obviously it's got a robust sound to it that necessarily shouldn't be equated to it being a rough ride.
That's true. That's true. We thank you so much, Dr. Michael Teiger, a pilot and aviation specialist, for your insight, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Okay, I believe right now we're going to take a quick commercial break.
All right. We will be right back with more coverage of the plane crash today at Bradley International Airport.